Welcome to episode 98, Executive Storytelling with HITRUST Results, where we explore how to transform technical assurance outcomes into persuasive leadership narratives. Data alone rarely moves decisions, stories do. Executives are inundated with dashboards, metrics, and acronyms, but what truly influences them is a clear story about risk, value, and trust. HITRUST certification produces volumes of evidence, scores, letters, and reports, but unless these outputs are distilled into meaning, they remain static documents. Storytelling bridges that gap. It converts validation into vision, showing how the organization's efforts strengthens reputation, customer confidence, and operational resilience. A well-told story turns HITRUST from a compliance exercise into a strategic differentiator, uniting leadership around both progress and purpose. Audience mapping determines how that narrative lands. Each stakeholder, board members, executives, values different signals. Boards want to see assurance aligned with enterprise risk appetite. Executives care about operational predictability and resource efficiency. Customers look for proof of diligence and reliability. The same HITRUST result can be tailored three ways: as governance confirmation for the board, as performance evidence for management, and as trust reinforcement for buyers. For example, a board update might highlight how certification mitigates legal exposure, while a customer-facing version emphasizes secure partnership. Effective storytelling respects these distinctions, adjusting tone, depth, and focus without changing substance. The art lies in speaking everyone's language while keeping the message unified and consistent. Defining desired outcomes and commitments ensures the story has purpose. Every executive presentation should aim for a decision, funding, approval, or endorsement. Telling a story without a goal wastes leadership attention. Start by identifying what the audience must think, feel, and do. If the goal is to secure budget for next year's renewal, frame the story around investment protection. Maintaining our HITRUST certification safeguards the trust we've already built. If the goal is to expand scope, emphasize strategic growth. By extending coverage, we demonstrate readiness for larger customers. Storytelling is not persuasion through charm. It is structured communication that leads to measurable outcomes and commitments anchored in business relevance. A one-page narrative structure helps keep complexity manageable. Begin with context, why the certification matters now. Move to progress, what was achieved and how it compares to expectations. Then present impact, how this result strengthens business performance or resilience. Finally, close with direction, what decisions or resources sustain the momentum. This pattern fits any briefing length and prevents wandering explanations. For instance, an executive update might read, Context, market trust pressures. Progress, HITRUST R2 completed. Impact, reduced audit duplication by 40%. Direction, approve renewal funding for FY26. The structure ensures clarity under time pressure, turning dense compliance detail into digestible executive insight that informs action rather than confusion. Tailored metrics and maturity highlights give stories quantitative backbone. Executives respond best to concise, comparative measures, scores against targets, improvements over time, or benchmark positioning. HITRUST results lend themselves to this translation. For example, highlight that 98% of controls scored at maturity level 3 or higher, or that remediation time dropped by half compared to the prior cycle. Pairing such numbers with narrative context creates balance between proof and persuasion. Avoid flooding audiences with raw tables. Instead, curate metrics that illustrate progress, stability, or alignment with strategy. Tailored maturity storytelling reassures leadership that the program is not only compliant but continually improving, reflecting disciplined stewardship rather than minimal survival. Risk reduction and business impact transform compliance from a cost center into a growth enabler. Every HITRUST achievement reduces risk in measurable ways. Fewer vendor assessments, shorter customer due diligence cycles, lower regulatory friction. Frame these as business returns, not security abstractions. For instance, our HITRUST certification enabled faster onboarding with 3 major healthcare clients, increasing revenue potential by 20%. This connects assurance outcomes to business success, giving executives tangible reasons to care. Risk reduction also ties to resilience, predictable operations, reduced incident likelihood, and reputational protection. When leadership hears that HITRUST is not just guarding against loss, but actively driving efficiency and opportunity, support becomes instinctive, not reluctant. Customer assurance and sales enablement represent some of the most visible storytelling benefits. For client-facing teams, certification provides a competitive advantage, but only if articulated properly. Sales and account managers must be able to translate technical achievement into business value. Our HITRUST certification means you skip lengthy security questionnaires. We've already been validated against industry standards. Embedding this message in proposals, renewal discussions, and marketing content strengthens market positioning. Internally, aligning sales and compliance teams ensures consistent phrasing and accurate representation of scope. HITRUST then becomes both shield and spear, a shield protecting trust and a spear opening doors to new partnerships grounded in verified security maturity. Visual-free framing techniques keep executive narration persuasive even without slides. A confident speaker uses structure, pacing, and repetition to anchor attention. Begin with a headline message, reinforce it through 3 supporting statements, and close by repeating its importance. For example, this certification confirms reliability. It proves our controls work, it demonstrates independent validation, and it keeps our customers confident. Such spoken frameworks are essential when executives prefer verbal briefings or high-level calls. Visual aids may enhance comprehension, but voice-driven storytelling ensures the message survives beyond the screen. Practicing visual-free delivery makes presenters adaptable, clear, and memorable in any context, qualities every compliance leader should master. Using NIST function mappings adds strategic coherence. Linking HITRUST outcomes to NIST's identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover functions translates technical assurance into risk language executives already understand. For example, map access management improvements under protect, incident monitoring under detect, and business continuity under recover. This alignment bridges operational detail and governance oversight. When leaders see color-coded summaries by NIST function, they recognize that HITRUST does not operate in isolation, but strengthens the enterprise-wide cyber framework. Mappings act as translation tables that connect control maturity to organizational resilience, ensuring executives interpret security posture in familiar, actionable terms. Evidence anchors make stories believable. Referencing certification letters, assessment summaries, and attestations provides traceability without overwhelming the listener. A brief mention, our validated report, issued August 1st, confirms Level 4 maturity in encryption controls, adds weight and specificity. For customer audiences, referencing public HITRUST listings offers independent verification. Internal audiences can access executive summaries from the assessor's report. Anchoring each claim to formal evidence balances narrative enthusiasm with factual grounding. Storytelling succeeds when confidence stems from proof, not persuasion. With evidence at its core, every statement about HITRUST maturity carries authority rather than assumption. Objection handling keeps storytelling credible when audiences question scope, cost, or timing. Executives may ask, "Why does renewal take so long?" or "Can we scale down?" Anticipating these concerns within the story prevents derailment. For instance, acknowledge costs directly. The investment appears high, but integration with SOC 2 eliminates redundancy, saving 70% of prior effort. If scope confusion arises, clarify boundaries. What certification covers, what it doesn't, and why. Handling objections calmly and factually builds trust, turning skepticism into engagement. When leaders feel their concerns have been heard and answered transparently, support strengthens and future approvals flow more easily. Every story must conclude with a clear call to action and follow-up plan. Ending with "thank you" is not enough. Define what happens next. Whether seeking budget approval, roadmap endorsement, or renewal authorization, specify timelines and owners. For example, we will return in 60 days with a costed roadmap for expanding certification scope. Follow-ups reinforce accountability and momentum. The closing message should echo the opening. HITRUST is not merely a certificate, it is proof of discipline and foresight. Calling leaders to participate through funding, policy support, or advocacy turns a narrative from observation into collective ownership of the next milestone. Closing cadence matters because executive attention is scarce. End the briefing with a tone of confidence and continuity. Assurance today, progress tomorrow, trust always. Summarize key achievements, restate commitments, and set expectations for the next review. For example, we've validated excellence, identified next steps, and will report measurable improvement by the next quarter. This rhythm leaves leadership with clarity and optimism. A strong close also defines when and how the next update will occur, keeping governance loops alive. In mature organizations, storytelling never ends with certification. It evolves into a cycle of communication, alignment, and growth. Sustainable executive storytelling turns compliance into influence. It aligns high-trust achievements with business vision, ensuring that every assurance outcome becomes part of a larger leadership narrative. When executives hear not just scores but significance, when customers see not just logos but proof, assurance fulfills its highest purpose: trust made visible. Through deliberate structure, tailored metrics, and authentic voice, organizations transform high-trust results into stories that drive funding, inspire confidence, and sustain cultural alignment. In the end, effective storytelling is not a soft skill. It is the governance mechanism that keeps assurance meaningful, memorable, and powerful across every audience it serves.